What is good, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of Talking Hoops with Kev Luke. We back at it again today, Friday, October 25th. As always, I hope all you guys are doing well out there. It's been a minute, but the college basketball season is upon us. I'm glad I got my guy Tyler back. But again, I hope all you guys are doing well, staying safe, and getting ready for this winter time, fall time. You already know, to me, it's the best time of the year. We got all the sports rocking today in the city. We got the Dodgers playing. We got USC football playing. We got the Lakers playing. So it should be a productive Friday. And again, I hope all you guys are doing well, man. But as always, I got my guy Tyler with me, man. Tyler, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I can never complain, bro. It's always good. We back at it. Like I said, college hoops is here, man. In Michigan State, we didn't had a lot of recent news, luckily, because we don't get too much on the recruiting side of things. But before we talk about and preview the season, we got to talk about these recent commitments that we picked up, both out of the DMV, which, if y'all know me, I love DMV hoopers. They always got that grit. They always got that toughness. It's one of the best places in the country for basketball. But I want to talk about Jordan Scott first because he was the first commitment. 6'7" wing out of South Lakes High School out there in Virginia. He is the son of Christy Winter Scott, who was a Maryland women's basketball legend. Does a great job covering the DMV sports from Georgetown to the Wizards to the Mystics. So shout out to her. But Jordan Scott committed earlier this month on the 10th. What you think about Jordan's game and how it's going to translate to the next level for our Spartans, man?
Yeah, Jordan Scott. I mean, we've been in on him for a while now. I thought it was always going to be a two-man race with us and Maryland. And I know Maryland fans are sick right now, obviously, with the addition of Cam Ward, too. But yeah, I think he's more of a long-term prospect. I think I'm not saying he's going to be redshirted his freshman year or anything like that, because I do think he brings a lot of value with his shooting and some of his length. But I think his main goal right now needs to be just working on his body and his frame. Um, but I absolutely love the upside that he will eventually bring. I think he's a guy that can defend multiple positions. I think he's a guy that probably could play multiple positions. And then, yeah, just we're getting back to, having tall, big wings. And, the days of Jaden Akins playing, at 6'3", 6'4", playing the three, or I think those days are done. I think Tom understands that you just got to be bigger. And obviously the addition of Frankie Fiddler this year kind of coincides with that thinking. And so, yeah, long term, I love his upside. Um, I do think he'll carve out some type of role his freshman year. And yeah, I a great addition by all means. He's a really good kid, smart. So yeah, love the addition.
Yeah, I'm with you. And especially because it clearly seems like our core moving forward is going to be Jeremy, X, Cohen, amongst other guys, Jace, Kerr. Obviously, we'll talk about them in a second. But you need shooting, right? And like you said, you need wings. And that's what I kept bringing up the last episode because we haven't had that really since Max Christie, right? And Christie was only there for a year, so we didn't really get to enjoy the full experience of what he could have been. But you need wings, bro. You just need wings. You look across the country, you need those 6'6" to 6'7" dudes that can guard, hit shots at a high level, and just do what they need to do. I think Frankie's going to be a huge piece of what we do this year. We'll talk about him, but for Jordan, I agree. He played on the UAA, the Under Armour circuit for Virginia Elite. I didn't see too much of him, but from what I've seen again, the shooting is there. Like you said, thin frame, but he has a lot of game. And I think, it'll take him a little bit of time to get right. But to me, I think it's a hell of a pickup. You needed it. Like you said, he chose us over Maryland, which, I'll take that any day of the week. And again, going into the DMV is not easy, by any means, because you got ACC territory, you got teams, in the Big East recruiting over there. So I'll take that any day of the week. But the other day, earlier this week, Tuesday, I believe, we got another DMV dog. This one I was always excited for. I feel like the staff made him a priority from day one just because he has a lot of similar qualities to fours we've had before in the program. And he goes by the name of Cam Ward. Obviously not the football player that might be a Heisman, award winner this year, but he's out of Largo and he's been at Largo High School for 4 years now. His dad's the coach, mom's the athletic director there. And he could have easily went to, a bigger program, but he decided to stay public school. But talk to us about Cam Ward, man. What do you like about Cam Ward, 6'7" forward out of Largo, Maryland?
Yeah, man, I glow up when I talk about him because he is just a stereotypical Spartan. 6'7", 6'8". He actually was. just on the Drive with Jack show, and they interviewed him, and he said right now he's 6'8", 217, a kid that's going to play day one, a guy that can defend multiple positions already. He said he's working on, defending the five. I guess Izzo wants him to be able to defend all five. Super versatile. I offensively can play three positions. Think he has the potential to play some small ball five down the line. A guy that can put it on the deck. He said he is working on his range and his three ball a little bit. But other than that, I mean, this is a guy who has. I like to compare him to a little bit of Raymar Morgan. Who else was I thinking of? Maybe a little bit Brandon Dawson, but not really. I mean, height and day one physical readiness, like BJ was, but he's got a lot more skill than Brandon did. Obviously, Brandon really struggled putting the ball on the deck and really couldn't shoot. Until late in his career, he was shooting 16-footers, but never from deep. Cam Ward has a much higher ceiling when it comes to his offensive skill set. Another thing that stuck out to me in the interview I listened to was, his communication is unbelievable. I mean, just in the interview itself, I thought he was articulate, the way he, expressed himself. And I guess that's one thing that really stood out to the staff, especially Tom, was just the way he can communicate. They compared him to the likes of, Draymond Green and, Cassius, the way he can, kind of galvanize his unit out there on the floor and direct people where to go. And, and you can tell just in the interview just how well he understands the game. And I think this guy, I get why the staff made him a priority over maybe some other guys that are more highly recruited. Love the get with him. Like I said, big body, 6'8", could still be growing, who knows, but his body's going to fill out even more. He's going to play day one. I don't see any way he doesn't. So love the pickup.
Yeah, man, me too. And I'll be honest, like, regardless of where he would have went to school, I was gonna keep up with this dude just because he was one of my favorite players in the country to watch on the EYBL this year, and he was dominant. He played for Team Durant with a Caden Lewis, who's gonna commit very, very soon, one of the top guards in the country out there in DC. And you mentioned, like, bro, he just has a complete skill set, right? From scoring in the post with his back to the basket. I think he's gonna be lethal as a trail man in our offense. Inbounding the ball, creating havoc, and you watch him. He's a mismatch problem for smaller guards because he's bigger and he can overpower them. And if bigs can't guard him, seeks out contact, loves contact, plays through contact, and he's talking like you said, he's chirping. And when he sees big man, he's going right by him, right? Because he's just too fast and he's too lethal. And to me, he doesn't do all that extra stuff. He don't need all the crossovers. He's just very efficient and effective in his game, and I love it. And I think people don't think he can shoot like that, but I think it's a difference of not actually attempting shots and not being able to shoot. I think it's a difference. And to me, he doesn't really attempt like that, but I do think I've seen him shoot a few different times. He has a jumper. Trust me, he has a jumper. It's not the greatest right now, but it's not broke by any means. I just think he loves to post up. I think he loves to find teammates. That's one of my favorite qualities about him. He can pass the rock like crazy. Like, he drops real dimes. He sees plays before defenders do, right? And so to me, I just think having another wing like that is essentially like having damn near a 6'7" point guard, and he's going to earn Izzo's trust very, very fast. I can already tell. You mentioned Raymar Morgan. He has a little Draymond in his game. I'm not going to compare him fully to that because, a lot of people get lazy with that, but it is some there. And I see the intrigue. And again, just having them forwards that are just do-it-all forwards that can rebound, pass, shoot, defend at a high level. I love everything about Cam Moore, bro. I was kind of concerned for a minute because I didn't know where his recruitment was going to go, but it seemed the moment he committed that he made it very clear that the staff made him a priority from day one, and they never looked back, as you mentioned. And so I love that. They clearly know how to identify their guys, go after their guys, and make it happen. So this, to me, is a huge commitment, bro. A huge commitment. We needed a dude like this. And so I'm excited about Cam Ward. I really am.
Yeah, another guy that's literally lives like 20 minutes from Maryland's campus. So, I mean, just, stole another big-time prospect. Like I said, Maryland fans got to be sick.
Sick. I'm not even going to get on Kevin Willer right now, but at the end of the day, you got to win games first. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of fans, they think just because we're Maryland or just because we're Kentucky that we just deserve big-time players, but you got to show that you can win. You know what I'm saying? And for Willer, that's going to be a huge thing going into this season. But, we'll talk about them later down the line as they start playing games and things like that. But I love it. I'm happy. Salute to Cam Moore. Salute to Jordan Scott. Can't wait to see him become Spartan Dog. Can't wait to see him, in their senior seasons. I seen they played each other, I believe, in January. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna definitely be looking out for that one. And again, the DMV, if you don't follow or tap in with DMV hoops, you're missing out because it's always top talent, it's always good players out there. And again, Cam Moore could have easily went to one of the top, private schools, Catholic schools, whatever. He decided to stay local, and I think a lot of people in the DMV appreciated him for that. So again, shout out to Jordan Scott and shout out to Cam Moore. But moving forward, not too long ago, we had an exhibition game. We went up to, I believe it's Marquette, Michigan, where Northern Michigan is at.
Yep.
And of course, that's Izzo's alma mater where he played, was a walk on, became an All American. There was a lot of hoopla around that. Salute to him. I'm not mad at it. I was just trying to focus on the game, but I'm glad that he's receiving his flowers in real time because he deserves that. But at the same time, a game was played. We did win. Played a little sloppy, but I'm not too mad at him. We had some cons, we had some pros. Just give me both. Let's start off with the cons first before we get into the pros. What do you think we need to improve upon? Again, obviously it's game one, so I don't want to be too critical. Like it is what it is, but we'll start with the cons first, and then we'll work our way to the pros. So, what were your biggest takeaways from this game against Northern Michigan?
Yeah, it's weird because I don't have a ton. I thought it was sloppy. Um, I don't think two of our guards, and honestly, three of our best players didn't play very well. With obviously with Jaden, he really struggled again, and Jeremy, it's gonna take some time. It just is. You got to think that this guy just didn't play a whole lot of basketball last year. It's coming though. He did hit some threes. I know one, went, back iron and dropped in, but the other one, he had one in the corner, went in. So that's promising, the catch and shoot threes. That's very promising. He's got to take care of the ball a little bit better, obviously. Fiddler got himself into a little bit of foul trouble, some ticky-tack ones, some questionable ones. So I'm not worried about Frankie. But I think that kind of took him out of the flow of the game. And then another thing, we're not going to see these rotations. Tom, we're doing full line changes. We're just not going to see that. I think over the next week, we got Monmouth next week, another exhibition. I think he's going to start figuring out a more of a rotation, a realistic rotation. And I think guys will start learning their defined roles a little bit more. So cons, yeah, I know there was distractions with, the hoopla around Izzo and, his number being retired. And, he even said himself, he didn't know if he got his guys, he wasn't really capable of getting his guys ready as much as he wanted to for that game. You got to give a little bit of credit to Northern too. I thought they did a really good job limiting our transition. I would say that was another con. I definitely want to see us running more. So I would say those are some of the cons. Am I worried? No. I think if we were treating that game like a regular season game, do we win by 17? No. I think we can probably beat them by 30 plus. I would say it is what it is. I think it was more the spectacle behind Izzo and that whole game being played for him rather than, let's go down there and take care of business and treat this like a business trip.
Yeah, I completely agree. And my only real con was Jaden, if I'm being honest. And I'm not even going to try and kill Jaden by any means. It's just he ended up with 4 points. He shot 2 of 12 from the field. But if you go back and watch, a lot of those shots were good shots,
Oh yeah.
quality shots. You know what I'm saying? Like the first shot, he had first play of the game, he missed a layup. He missed a mid-range jumper. He missed a couple of threes. So I'm just like, all those shots he took, it wasn't one shot that he really forced. The one shot he did force was a step back and he made it, a mid-range shot on the baseline. So I'm like, I'm not really mad at Jaden whatsoever. I just want him to be more confident while he's shooting it because I've always been a fan of his mid-range game. But for some reason, it just hasn't really translated that well to this level. He's hit them here and there, but it's always like the ones you least expect, right? But when he gets clean looks, I don't know, it don't feel confident enough to me. But I think he'll be fine.
So
I'm
that's
not
what it
too
is.
worried about him.
And
Mhm.
sorry to cut you off. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. It's
Hmm.
between the ears with him, and he's even said it and alluded it to himself.
Yep.
And multiple interviews over the course of the last month or so, just like, he's got to maintain positivity when things aren't going well. And I think you've even said that even last year, just like the kid thrives off confidence, and when he's confident, yeah, I think he's one of the better two-way guards in the Big Ten. So
Exactly.
it's in him, and I know Izzo is. I hope there isn't too much pressure on him making, because Izzo and the staff are saying he's your guy.
Yeah.
I still think it can be by committee with him and Frankie and a little bit of Jeremy, running the
Hmm.
show, finding guys. But yeah, we need Jaden to be better. We do.
Facts. And again, as you mentioned, it's just all confident. And that's why I said the last time we spoke is that I want to see them actively run more plays for him because when he starts to build up that confidence, he's going to turn into a different player. That's just the nature of the game. Any sport you play, the more confident you are, the better you're going to play. You know what I'm saying? Especially for him, a dude that's waited his turn. He's taken a back seat before. He's played multiple positions from the shooting guard to the small forward. You know what I'm saying? He's been through a lot. So I think he's earned his moment and his just due to finally be a star, to finally be that guy, especially in his senior year. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not worried about Jaden. I just want him to just, when the season starts, just be aggressive, bro. Be aggressive and be confident, and you're going to be fine, and you're going to make life easier for yourself and your teammates. And you have other teammates around you that are going to make the game easier for you as well. So don't put that pressure on yourself. It's unnecessary, and we just don't need it. But he'll be fine. But a few pros, though. The freshmen, Kurt Tang, Jace Richardson, man. Talk to me about them. They both came in and looked super confident in this game.
Those names keep popping up on us, huh?
Yep.
I mean, yeah. What more can you say? They're ready. They both don't play like freshmen. They defend. They're getting after loose balls. Kerr's hitting shots, and don't get me started on Jace. I mean, yeah. I just if he never gets injured, and I know we've discussed this before, he would have been more highly ranked. I think maybe more fans wouldn't be as surprised as they are right now. I mean, even me, I mean, I'm surprised, obviously, a little bit, but, he's also Jason Richardson's son, so you can't be too surprised. He's been coached well. He's in a basketball family, plays the right way, just has a knack for scoring. And he led our team in assists that day. I can't say enough about Jace Richardson, as well as Kurt Tang. They are going to have a big role this year. And before the season, before the Spain trip, I was thinking, they're going to carve out some minutes here and there. But now I'm thinking like these dudes are going to play, 12, 15 plus minutes again. I just don't know how you're going to keep them off the floor. Especially if Jaden's struggling in a game, like it's a really good safety valve to have. Hey, let's go throw, Jace or Kerr and I just I love those two. They're obviously the cornerstone in the of the program going forward, and you can't be just so excited about just the possibility of how they're going to end up here in East Lansing.
Yeah, man. I mean, we talked about it. They both just look super confident. They both look like they've been here before. They both defend. They both rebound. You know what I'm saying? I think Jace is probably going to play a little bit more just because he can play both guard spots. Kerr is more just of a natural two guard that can knock down shots, which is super valuable. Obviously, that's where the game is at right now. It's all about shooting, shooting, shooting. And we all know he's a mid range maestro, but he can also, pop out and hit threes. He had a transition three in this game. And again, they just both look ready. And Jace, man, I mean, you said he led us in. You said assists, right? I think it was assists and points. He led us in points too, which I'm like, okay, yeah, he's here, and I knew he was. And you mentioned the injury. You could just tell by his recruitment. I mean, Eric Musselman wanted him bad at Arkansas. Nate Oates wanted him bad at Alabama. We see what he's doing with the guards that he has this year. So Jace, I'm excited for both of them. Man. Like you said, they're both cornerstones of our program, and they're gonna play this year. I think they're both gonna have impactful seasons as freshmen, and they're only gonna stack up on it after that. But fast forward into the season, or actually, before we do that, I want to ask you about Zapala because honestly, when we got him from Longwood, I'll be honest with y'all, I didn't. I just thought he was gonna be another body. I thought he was just gonna be on the bench. I didn't think he was gonna have any true impact on this team, but he might end up being a starter. I mean, you can talk about that, and also he looks like he fits in, and he fits in pretty well. And again, I was surprised because I just had zero expectations for him. I literally just thought they went out and got a body just because we needed another body, and just to kind of satisfy the fans or whatever the case may be. Whether it worked or not, I don't know. We'll see. He still has to play, but talk to me about what we've seen from Zapala, man. I feel like he's been very solid from Spain and in this Northern Michigan game.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's the best center you have on the roster. I thought that, Kohler would play more five, but it's looking like he's going to play more four. But yeah, I mean, Zapala looks very fluid the way he moves. He is an underrated athlete. He's got really good hands. Out on the perimeter, he's dribble handoffs, it looks smooth. Yeah, I just think he moves very well for a guy that's 6'11", 7 foot. Um, so yeah, great addition. I'm not gonna say he's gonna be, a guy that's gonna, average a double double or anything like that. But I think he's gonna be a contributor to this team and help this team, especially because, I don't know where Carson Cooper is going to go from here. I mean, it's his junior year. It just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I don't know. Like defending wise, like I think Cooper is, he's a serviceable Big Ten defensive center. Offensively, he doesn't have it. And I think Zapala does. He has a lot more game offensively. He can go over either shoulder down low. They keep talking about the range he has. We haven't seen it yet, but his stroke looks smooth at the free throw line. So yeah, a very good pickup, honestly. And the staff I think did a good job scouting him and realizing that they needed a bigger body, and he didn't play a ton of minutes last year. But during those minutes, he was, very productive. So they saw that. And, sometimes a change of scenery, I know he's only got 1 year here, but, can do wonders. And maybe the fit is just here better for him. And, sometimes that changes a player, So yeah, I'm very impressed with him. And I think as he gets more and more comfortable, I think he will be able to even do more, down low offensively.
Yeah, man. He actually led us in rebounds this game, which isn't surprising. But you mentioned, I just think the touch around the rim, right? The ability to get the ball to the floor, rebound. Again, I just had no expectations. That was just me. I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, Jackson's gonna get better. Carson should theoretically get better just because he has another year in the program. You touched on that, but I mean, if he's looking like this, I'm cool. And that's always been my thing with a lot of fans is people are always like, oh, Izzo's so against the portal and this and that. I know he is to a certain extent, but when he's gone in there, we've struck pretty good for the most part. Our batting average is pretty good from the portal. So I think, this could end up being another dude that hits for us and just solid. And again, we don't need him to be great by any stretch of the imagination. We don't need him to be, all Big Ten center at all. He just has to be solid and serviceable. And I think he looks the part and he looks very confident with that. But
So what's your take on Kohler playing predominantly at the four right now?
that one intrigues me because I understand it. And I think it's mostly just because of his shooting ability, which is obviously taking him out there. But I mentioned the last time we spoke, bro. I want to see X and Jackson not just rely on jumpers. I want them to get in the post and make the defenses have to actually guard. And I don't mind it. I don't think he's going to sit on a 3-point line all the time, but we all know the strength of Jackson's game is in the post with his back to the basket. He had a couple good moves in this game. Sometimes he overdoes it. I think sometimes, he has to learn how to simplify it. You know what I'm saying? He can get to his fancy stuff, but sometimes you just got to catch and go up, bro. You don't got to reverse pivot and all this stuff and jab step. Like once you master the basics, all the stuff that you love to do and love to do in high school and things like that, that's going to work itself out. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be able to get to all your moves whenever you want to. But for now, just simplify. And so him at the four is intriguing. Defensively, I do have some concerns, obviously, because he's not the fastest laterally, but we'll see how that plays itself out. But offensively, I mean, he can shoot. He can space the floor. We got a whole bunch of shooters on this team. He's one of them. And I want to see how it plays itself out. What you think about that, though?
Yeah, so no, I agree with all of that. Obviously defensively there could be some issues. Offensively, I like everything. He can stretch it, he can be the trail guy. Obviously down low, he could have a mismatch against a small ball four that, you know what I mean? My thing is the trickle down effect to the lineup or the rotation as far as, so now you have him backing up X when theoretically I wanted Cohen to back up X at the four.
That's where I
Oh,
was.
now
That's
it's
where I wanted
now
to
it's
go.
now you're
Mhm.
pushing Cohen to,
To
predominantly
three.
three.
Yeah.
And he hit a jump shot.
Mhm.
His jumper doesn't look terrible. I mean, we've talked about it too. His mechanics are fine. He's starting to take more jump shots. Like I said, he made a nice pull up, free throw line. Against Northern. He's putting the ball on the deck a little bit more to get to the rim, which is all good to see. But I still think his right now he's a 4 in college, and obviously you saw what he did in Spain. I mean, dude, it just thrived in that league.
Mhm.
So we'll see. But right now, I mean, if you're playing Jackson at the 4, Cohen, there's no minutes for Cohen at the 4.
That's the biggest concern because again, Cohen can just be such a mismatch problem at that spot, and it's his natural spot, of course, because you put him on the 3, you put him on the wing, it requires him to kind of make some plays here and there off the dribble. And that's not really his game, as you mentioned, but I do like his jumper. I think if he starts to get that mid-range jumper going, I mean, you got another threat right there. And he looked confident shooting it, and it looks good, like you mentioned. Like the mechanics are there. I think he took maybe 1 or 2 dribbles to get to it. Like that's all you need. You know what I'm saying? You don't need anything crazy, but yeah, that trickle down effect kind of worries me, but I think the main benefit of that is that it's gonna have to force him to expand his game faster, sooner. You know what I'm saying? But as it's from a team perspective, it is a little bit worrisome because I just think I always said I want to see lineups with X and Cohen at the 4 and the 5, bro. I think most of the fan base does, right? Because that's an exhilarating lineup, and especially let's touch on this real quick. If X can start to put it together defensively, that makes it even more intriguing to me, right? Because I think slowly but surely he's starting to figure out on that end of the floor, but he still has a little hint of undisciplinedness on that side, if that's even the word I can use. But you know what I'm trying to say? Like he jumps at pump fakes here and there. Sometimes he gets lost here and there. But I just think with reps, with more in-game experience, all that's gonna work itself out. It's just gonna take time. It might, not happen the first month of the season by any means, but I think by the new year, heading into the grit and grind of Big Ten play, I think X gonna start to put that together. But what do you think about X as a whole on both sides of the floor going into the year?
Yeah, he still has, he still has a ways to go defensively. There's no doubt about that. I think that Tom said a couple weeks ago he seemed like he was turning a corner. He was like turning into a new player. Offensively, yeah, I got no worries. I mean, the guy can do it all. I just need to see him to stay aggressive. Don't fall in love with the 3, these step backs. I know he's got it. Obviously, he's hitting 16-foot baseline fadeaways. Like, I mean, he's got everything offensively you want. So I understand how he can kind of settle for those shots because he can get them whenever. He's 6'11". You know what I mean? He's shooting over whatever. But yeah, I want to see the improvement defensively. I want to see the motor continue to pick up. There's no reason why this guy doesn't average 7 rebounds a game. I'm sorry. You just got to go want it. Dude's got a 7'4" wingspan. You got to go. You got to be able to rebound on this team. You have to. We got to get back to Michigan State rebounding, and I think he's the guy that can really help with that, along with Colin Carr. So yeah, I think over the next month, 2 months, you're going to see Xavier Booker really put his name and out there. And I know I was looking at some draft stuff, some mock drafts, and right now I think I saw him at like 24th, which is probably where you put him right now. But he puts in a good season. You can see that really jump up. And so yeah, I love obviously what he can do offensively. Just need to see more defensively. Not getting lost and then rebounding the ball is key for me.
Yeah, man. So adding on to that, because we're gonna talk about the schedule in a second. We already know how that gets every year. Shout out to Izzo and everybody else that puts together the schedule. They do a great job of keeping us, in competitive games, making sure we get better and battle tested for March. But with this team, you mentioned Jeremy a few minutes ago. I'm excited for Jeremy Fierce. I think most of the fan base is, obviously. We've been talking about him for 2, 3 years now. But again, we mentioned the last time we spoke, the biggest thing for him is just getting back to in-game reps, getting the in-game experience, but also learning how to pick and choose his spots, when to score and when to facilitate. And I think early on we've seen him facilitate a lot more, which is fine. That's his game. He likes to pass. He's going to be one of the top assist men in the Big Ten for the next few years. That's fine. But as the season works itself out, I think slowly but surely, you mentioned by committee scoring wise, I think we're going to start off with Frankie and Jaden. But I think as we start to get better and start to ascend as a team, it's going to end up being Jeremy and Xavier that kind of take the mantle and run with this thing. And it might not fully play itself out this year, but I definitely think we're going to see glimpses and flashes of it this year. And I'm excited for that because Jeremy has it. And I want to tell y'all that again. when I watched him on the EYBL a few years ago when he was playing with Indy Heat, if you guys know Indy Heat, they've had some really good teams back in the day. Mike Conley, Jaren Jackson played for him, Xavier Tillman played for them, Tiger Campbell was with that team too. They've had some really good teams, and the team that Jeremy led to PJam was not nearly as good as those teams. And he willed that team to the Peach Jam based off his scoring ability and his just being a leader and being a captain. So to me, I think it's all there again. It's all just getting back, figuring out your flow, figuring out where you can score, figuring out when you need to get other guys shots, when you need to get Jaden shots, when you need to get Frankie some looks, when X needs touches, when Jackson is amongst need touches in the post. Excuse me. So I'm not worried about Jeremy Fears. I just think again, in-game reps is going to be the most critical thing for him, and he's going to get plenty of that because he's going to play a lot this year. So I'm not too worried about him. But this season, we play some good games as always. Last season we didn't think we were going to play too many good games, but we did. We had Oakland on the schedule, we had Indiana State on the schedule, we played Baylor on a non-con, or we played Baylor in Detroit at Little Caesars, so I guess you can kind of call that a home game. But we got the Maui Invitational, where you have UConn, you got Memphis, you got Iowa State, you got Auburn, and you got Carolina on the other side of the bracket. And then we play Kansas at the Champions Classic this year. And we all know Kansas is looked at as one of the top teams in the country. I believe they're preseason ranked number one. So just talk to me about the schedule and what games are you most looking forward to this year?
Yeah, I mean, the schedule is another one of those schedules. Obviously, I mean, Maui could be, you beat Colorado, you're probably going to get UConn. You know what I mean? And then, who knows from there. But it starts off with Kansas. There's nothing more else to say. I think Kansas is probably one of the most talented, them and Bama and rosters in the country, probably. You got Dickinson back for his 12th year, and and you add AJ Store. Now I don't know how that's all going to fit, but I'm sure Bill Self will figure it out. He always does. It seems like. So right off rip, that's why it's important over these next couple weeks is just to get guys really dialed in for that game because there's got to be some type of chip on our shoulder going into the Champions Class and not having a number next to us. Haven't seen that in a while, and we're the only team there without a number next to us. So go in there and let it all hang out. But we gotta, we're gonna have to fine tune some things over the next couple weeks because November 12th is coming quick.
Yeah, I can't wait for that game. As you mentioned, Kansas last year they dealt with some injury problems. They didn't have too much depth, and that killed them essentially. But Bill Self went in that portal. He got Rylan Griffin. He got a whole bunch of players, and you mentioned AJ Store. They got a really good freshman class with Flory Badinga and Raquise Passmore. I don't know how much Passmore is going to play this year, but he's going to be a big time player for them.
On
And
Harris still there.
yeah, Dewan Harris. I've heard Bill Self all season been raving about Zeke Mayo. Coming up from the Summit League, we've seen Summit League guys kill, the past few years with Baylor Shireman, Dalton Connect last year. So we'll see how that plays out. But I'm very excited. Again, going to Maui too. Maui, always one of the best, preseason tournaments in the country. It's been like that for probably longer than I've been alive now. Izzo's always been in that, always competed in that. But you got any teams just around the country that you're looking forward to seeing this year?
Obviously, I wouldn't say looking forward to it, but like Duke, they're obviously
Mm-hmm.
extremely talented. Anxious to see what Flag. I've obviously seen some things of him
Yep.
in high school, but some practice stuff at Duke and just how dominant he is. Obviously, he made his name even more known during the USA
Yep.
big practice,
Practicing. Mm-hmm.
zone against some of the best in the world. So yeah, I mean he's generational. So hard not to look at what they can do this year. Bama, another very very talented team. I would say this is probably Nate Oates is probably year to maybe cut down the nets. Could be. We'll see. I like adding Aiden Hollowell. I think he's gonna have a big year. I do. Always liked his game. He played with Jeremy, didn't he?
Yep. At La Lumiere.
Um, so yeah, Kansas obviously we're gonna see them front and center here in a couple weeks. So yeah, I like the early test for us against Kansas just to kind of see where we measure up. Because you're not going to play a more balanced talented team than them. So I feel like we should be ready in Maui for whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to in college basketball this year, and I would say yeah, those are a couple teams that you know are intriguing and could be really really good.
Yeah, man. My teams, I'm just throw them out there real quick before we move on, because I haven't talked to y'all in a little bit of time. But Iowa State, I kept beating that drum last year. I'm gonna continue to beat that Iowa State drum. TJ Otzelberger is one of the best coaches in the country. I think he's cemented that, especially after last year. He surprised a lot of people in the Big 12. Went to the Elite Eight or no Sweet 16 before they lost to Illinois. You bring back Taman Lipsey, you bring back Keyshawn Gilbert, you bring back Milan, you bring back Curtis Jones. Defensively, they're always going to be in games. It's all about the offense, and I think their offense this year is the best that he's had since he's been at Ames. I'll go to Texas A&M. Buzz, I really like this team. The more I've looked at the roster, I think they have a lot of good pieces. Obviously, we know about Wade Taylor IV. We know about Anderson Garcia, Henry Coleman, but they added in some good players. You got C.J. Wilcher, who was a sniper for Fred Hoiberg the past few years in Nebraska. You got, Zurich Phelps, excuse me, from SMU, who's been a stud for them. So I'm very high and intrigued on them, and just, you know, honestly, Arkansas too. Cal going from Kentucky to Arkansas, it's still taking me a little bit of time to get used to that and accustomed to that, just because, again, when you think about SEC basketball, you have to think about Coach Calipari, because he literally put it on the map being at Kentucky. But going from Kentucky to Arkansas is crazy, and I'm very intrigued about what the Razorbacks do. But it's a few teams out there, man. But the season starts in a little bit under 2 weeks, so I cannot wait. But before that, the last thing before we get out of here, we got the big game tomorrow. We're in Ann Arbor. I'm saying we're going in there masked up, ski masked up. I cannot wait. I'm super excited. It's another night game, which is unfortunate because I feel like every game we play this year has been a night game at this point. But talk about the game, man. What you thinking? What's the temperature check of the fan base right now? How we feeling?
I mean, we're confident. Last week was the way we were able to establish a run against one of the better run defenses in the country, of a Phil Parker led defense. That was, I mean, we ran for over 200 yards, and coming off of that bye, it was just so impressive. This staff was able to do some different things with Aiden and shotgun, making him more of a run threat, which I've kind of said all along. He needs to be in shotgun more, because defenses, they have to account for those legs. I mean, you saw that one run last week was just silly. And it seems like the mistakes that he's making are starting to, slow down. I know he had the interception, could have had maybe another one, but it was dropped. But I mean, some of those passes last week were just, I mean, big time. I mean, you can see the talent just oozing from him, and and I mean, the kid's NFL. Let's just face it, he's not there yet, but you know what I mean. Like, you could see that this kid should be a first rounder someday. And yeah, so yeah, if we could keep the run game going, I'm not expecting us to run for 200 like we did last week against Michigan, because Michigan does have a good front, and they have a good run defense. But we can establish some type of run, give Aiden time, which our O line has done a really good job in the pass protection this year. So I've been very thrilled with keeping him upright. He hasn't been sacked a whole lot. So if he gets time, we're running okay. Yeah, I don't see a way that we lose, because I think our defense is very underrated. Um, you know, Iowa's running back was second in the country going into last week in rushing, and he had one big game. He had that 75-yard run, but we still held him to like 98 yards total. He had like 13,
Mm-hmm.
23 yards,
Yep.
like in that 75-yard scamper. Like, yeah. I like the way our linebackers play. Coach Smith said that he played like 17 defensive linemen. So guys are staying fresh, and Michigan doesn't have a quarterback, and they want to run the ball. Well, guess what? We know that, and Iowa did too. Okay. So, as long as we can, somewhat slow down their run game, we take care of the ball. I don't see why we don't go in there, and get a W.
Yeah, man, I gotta give two shout outs. The first one to Joe Rossi, because that might have been one of the best low key coordinator moves in the country this past year, right? And we've seen the Minnesota teams the past few years; they've won some big time games over there. And to get him, man, you can just tell that defense, especially from what we had seen the last few years, that defense is balling, bro. Super confident. And shout out to Chuck Brantley too. I wasn't even gonna shout him out too, but man, having a
Heck of
monstrous year.
He's had a heck of a year. I hope he stays because I don't know what his draft status looks like as far as being drafted. He's obviously eligible. Uh,
Yep.
but man, if we can get one more year out of him, because yeah, he's had a heck of a year. But salute to him, and if he ends up leaving after this year, it's well deserved. But man, I would like to see him back next year.
And dudes like that are exactly why I love college sports,
Yeah,
because this was a dude that literally was with us when we were at the bottom, and now he's helping us ascend. And obviously, he has one of the most historical plays a few years ago when we beat Michigan with that game-winning interception, which I love. I think about all the time. But now that he's gone, I'm super happy for him. And again, I love to see another year just because. I mean, next year we're only going to get better. I think that's evident, and that's why I got to salute Jonathan Smith, because honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I completely forgot that he was from Southern California. I literally forgot that he's from Pasadena, and I knew that, but for some reason, it was just slipping my mind. And seeing that, I seen a quote where he said he's gonna keep his eye on the Dodgers score and things like that. So I was like, man, shout out to Jonathan Smith. I forgot. I know he went and played at Glendora. He was actually, I believe, before he went to Oregon State. I could be wrong, but I know he went to Oregon State. I think he might have been a JUCO player, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But
I think he.
regardless, though, yeah. So shout out to Coach Smith, man. And for this game, like you mentioned, man, it's going to pretty much be the same script as it was versus Iowa, bro. You stop the run, you're going to give yourself a good chance to win this game, which we know our defense loves to hit. They play active football, and it's going to be an Aiden game. And I trust in Aiden just because, obviously, like you said, Michigan has no quarterback, and so we just need our quarterback to just make a few more explosive plays. And I trust in Aiden to do that. And that's been my favorite thing about Aiden is that, for the most part, after every mistake that he's made this year, he's bounced back and he looked like it didn't even happen. You know what I'm saying? That's what I love about the basketball program too. Like guys like Kenny Goins. You know what I'm saying? I feel like every time Kenny Goins made a mistake, he made up for it in the snap of a finger. You know what I'm saying? And Aiden, I think, is doing that to a T. Like anytime he throws an interception, it's like he walks back on the field with supreme confidence. Like, hey,
It's
we
like,
about to walk down.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's got a next play mentality like we've never seen.
exactly. And that's crucial, man. So I honestly expect us to go up there, win this game, handle business, and get closer to a bowl game, bro. Like honestly, we right there. I think, we really should have won that Boston College game. It is what it is. Didn't have Nick Marshall. That's another one.
Yeah,
Man, let me touch on that one real quick too, because me being on Twitter and keep, staying locked in with Michigan State Twitter, I don't kill it with football recruits. I'll just tell you that right now. I do not kill with football recruits just because it's so much that goes on there, because
yeah,
it be dudes that's committed to schools that are still looking at other options. And I'm like, okay, I don't care. But I remember the whole Nick Marsh saga between, going from Mel Tucker and him being at Penn State potentially. And I didn't know what people were talking about because, again, I don't keep up with it, but clearly I understand why people wanted Nick Marsh now, and I'm glad that he is a Spartan because that dude right there is a stud, bro.
I mean, he could go down as the best wide receiver ever here. He's already on pace to break all the freshman records. Like I didn't think route running was going to be this good. I mean, his route running's just gotten so much better. It's like, because he's not like top end speed like a speedster or anything, but
Mhm.
he's got great hands. He runs great routes, and he's 6'4". And yeah, that guy is he's a monster.
Monster, bro. Shout out to Six, man. That dude different. I can't wait to see his career play out, man. But again, we're gonna go get this win. We're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be a big time momentum swinging win. I think last week was definitely two homecoming game and all that stuff, but this weekend we all know it just means more. Shout out to Coach D. Shout out to everybody that's been a part of this rivalry for all these years. And we're gonna get it done, man. So I cannot wait. But as always, man, Tyler, I appreciate you. When the season starts, we're gonna get back. We're gonna
Yes,
do
sir.
this again. And we're gonna chop it up for sure. It's gonna be a big basketball season. It's gonna be a season where we get back to Michigan State basketball. You know what I'm saying? You touched on it, like we just got to get back to our pillars of the program: rebounding, defending, getting out, flying in transition, and just being dogs, bro. That's all it comes down to. I think this year is going to be a very pivotal year of just bringing back the vibes and getting Izzo back on track and letting people know, hey, Michigan State not going nowhere. We've been
Yeah.
down a little bit, but we've been here and we've showed, flashes of being still Michigan